All right, and here is Spark Armor Shockwave with Solar Shot, Wave 2 of the Cyberverse Spark Armor Warrior, I think Warrior class, Battler class? I feel like it was Warrior class. Maybe I'm wrong. But Wave 2 of the smaller Spark Armor figures, he comes packed with Ratchet. I'm not sure who else is in the case, but I know that you do get Ratchet and Shockwave in Wave 2. I think maybe a Starscream. On the back of the package, it shows Starscream and Prowl, so those may be the two that come with them, although really kind of a disappointing, they could have had Cybershark in there. Maybe they do. Again, I haven't seen the case assortments. But anyway, Shockwave with Solar Shot. Solar Shot is this purple and very bright pink satellite. Maybe it's an homage to his Cybertron. Was it Cybertron? Energon? Shock Blast? Who was Energon? Where he turned into a satellite. But either way, he's got this purple and pink satellite that he comes with. It's got thrusters on the back. It can reposition itself in orbit. All of this pink plastic is actually a soft rubbery plastic. Interesting. Probably just because of the hose, and then they just went ahead and used it for the rest of the stuff. It's not super annoying unless you if you just leave the satellite sitting off by itself. If it gets warm, this is going to start warp and bend just under the weight of it. But all in all, not too bad. And if you have him wearing the armor, the way it all works out, it's probably going to be okay. But so there's the Solar Shot. We'll set him off to the side for a minute. Here's Shockwave himself. You can pose all of his limbs because it's just his arms and legs. He's just kind of a very simple crab tank, as we've seen. And then the soft rubbery hose, which you can plug in. The instructions, again, have it plugged in here and on top of the gun. There's all sorts of ports all over him you can plug it into. For the tank, this makes the most sense. In robot mode, you're going to have a lot of different options you can do. And speaking of robot mode, you can unpeg this. You can leave this pegged in here, but that's not where it's going. This is where the armor plugs in, so that's probably not where you want to have it. There is another peg hole back here. But yeah, so open this up, bring his arms up, bring them down, and rotate them at the bicep. And you see there is his fists. Open this up, bring the whole torso forward, and then flip his head up from inside like that. And then close this panel up, and it will lock onto his back. Fold his legs down at the knee, and turn them around at the thigh. So he's already, just for his transformation, has a fairly decent amount of posability. So he's got nothing at the head, but he's got a hinge in both directions at the shoulder, bicep swivel, hinge elbow, no waist swivel, ball joint hip, hinge knee, and he does have a bicep swivel. So surprisingly posable for this size class of these figures. His gun, you got a couple different options here. You can plug it onto his arm if you want, although that's not a traditional Shockwave look, but it's there. You can, if you put it over his fist, it kind of covers his hand and looks more like his traditional laser arm. The hose, if you want, you can plug directly into the gun and on one end, and then here you can either plug it into his arm, the back of his arm, his shoulder here. You can plug it into his backpack, a little hole here in the backpack, which personally, the way I do it, like this stretches the hose just a little bit, but the way I generally like to connect it is into the side of his arm, like this, and then into the middle of his back, because it kind of looks like he's got his classic battery pack bit back here. And the hose is flexible enough that you can still pose him with it. It's not strong enough to really, unless you get some real extreme poses, it's not strong enough to pull it out of place. And even then, any range you can move the arm in, the hose is long enough to get to it. So that's kind of nice. To transform him to armor him up, unpeg this from back here. Just unpeg the hose in general. So you take the satellite apart, and the satellite comes apart into several different pieces. You pull the black-purple piece off, the solar panels, and the pink rubbery gun, which is, like I said, is also soft rubbery plastic. The armor pegs on over his head, and then two tabs here peg onto his chest, and then you just flip this back. And I like his helmet crest because you can still see his little mono eye into there in most lighting conditions. But that, stuff like this. And then for this, it plugs into his back. You want to have the peg facing forward at an angle. So he's kind of making, which gun does this remind me of? Crossbones. But plug that into his back. Fold that down. And then you can plug power cable into the solar panel. This piece, the instructions have it plugged in like this with these thrusters facing back, and it looks like it's maybe kind of like an amp module for his gun. You can plug this in on top of his gun, although the peg goes further through his arm. You see his arm has a hole all the way through it, whereas on top of the gun it sticks out a little bit. You can have it facing so the thrusters face forward, so it looks like he's got more of an amped up gun. It's really up to you, and depending on how you have it attached depends on how this attaches. If you plug it into the arm, you can bring this around here, but again, that limits it when you've got it plugged into the back. You can plug it into the peg hole here, and again, it looks like he's got like a supercharger on his gun. If you have this facing the way they want it to, in the instructions, you can plug it in here. You can plug it into either one of the thrusters if you'd prefer on his gun arm. It's really entirely up to you how you use that. You've got plenty of options. And then the little rubbery pink gun just pegs in. It's got a little post here, and he can hold that as a weapon. And there he is, all armored up. It's Spark Armor Shockwave with Solar Shot.